Welcome to the True Grime Stories podcast, where in every episode, we'll unravel a new mystery of cleaning business transformation from a grimy mess to a great success. Join me, your host, Jeannie Henderson, as together we dig up cleaning business secrets that you've been dying to know. I'm so glad you're here today. I am really over the top excited about the guest who's with us today. It's a longtime friend and mentor and leader in our cleaning industry. I'm excited to introduce you to Jhon LeBaron. And Jhon and his sister Chrissia own Primavera Cleaning Service, which they took over from their mother back in 2017. It's a great story. I hope we get to share some of that today. And Jhon is amazing human being, and he's a loving husband, father of 6, and a multi-business entrepreneur. And his whole thing is creating businesses that create freedom, not burnout. And I think all of us out there who are entrepreneurs have experienced burnout. And Jhon has really helped a lot of people, not only himself, but he helps a lot of us, myself included, to create great businesses. And he is the founder, in addition to owning Primavera, the founder of Meadow and Fern, I almost said that wrong, a non-toxic cleaning brand. That's near and dear to our hearts, right? And Pure V Organics, which is a women's wellness supplement line. And his business is located in Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. And he is really great at building systems in his business. His business is family first. And he's all about long-term sustainability. He's built a great team. And we often talk about that because his team, so much of it is virtual. And so we'll dive in today. So welcome, Jhon, to True Grime Stories. I'm so glad to have you here today.
I'm so glad to be here, Jeannie. Thanks for having me. And I'm glad we were able to make this work.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you look great, by the way. I just have to say, like, your whole background and everything is really, it's totally the Jhon LeBaron vibe. I love it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I feel the same way about yours. You got the beachy vibe in the background.
Yep, I'm all about the beach. So we're really excited to have you here today because you've built a great business, and it's a legacy business. When did your mom start cleaning?
So my mom started the business back in 2002. And I was, 12 at that time point. We were new to the country. We'd just moved here from Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't know how to do anything else, as she never graduated high school. I don't even think she finished middle school. And started cleaning. And I had been cleaning with her for quite some time as well. She would take me out of school sometimes to go help her if staff didn't show up.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I cleaned on the weekends. I cleaned at nighttime. So I'd been doing it for quite some time.
And then you and your sister Chrissia took over the business in 2017. What size was the business then when you took it over?
It was right around a little under $500,000 per year, I want to say, in recurring revenue.
Okay. And about, how many team members, how many clients was that, do you think?
That's a really great question. We were not following the CBF model at that time, so we had way too many team members. And it was just chaos.
I know what that's like. Yeah.
Customers, I don't remember the number, to be honest, but we had enough at that time, I guess.
Right. Yeah. I remember when I met you. So we met at a speed cleaning conference in 2017. That was the first cleaning conference I had ever been to in my life. And I remember hearing your story and just being so inspired and thinking, wow, I can't wait to have a business that big someday. When you were talking about the size of your business, I was 1 year in when I met you. So yeah, I had just started.
Yeah, I remember that conference. We were struggling in our business. We had the teams, we had everything wrong and backwards. And going to the speed cleaning event was like our final shot of turning our business around.
Yeah, I know that feeling. It was for me too. I was about ready to give up when I met our coach, Debbie Sardone, and, that's really what turned everything around for me. But yeah, I was feeling those same feelings. It's funny how sometimes, I mean, sometimes we don't open up as much. I tend to be very withdrawn. So I don't tell people like I'm dying inside, but I was at that point. I was so
Actually,
good.
I have my notes in here to be vulnerable and share your hardships. So I think as business owners, we do that. We tend to feel like we have everything together because we don't want to come across as we don't. But I think that actually
Mhm.
hurts us in the long run because we're not being vulnerable and asking for the help. And I think that's what changed at the speed cleaning conference was me being like, enough is enough. Like we actually need to do something. And so we
Mhm.
went there and we did, and we opened up and we shared, and the rest is history.
Yeah. And what a great history. John and his sister Chrissia have been an inspiration to many of us in the cleaning industry, building the great business that they have today. So, from that point, where are you at now? So, do you know how big your team is now?
I want to say we have maybe like 29 cleaners. I'm not in the office every day, so I don't track that number anymore. I
Right.
do
Well, it's all
know,
about the freedom.
right? Exactly. I do know that this year we're going to be doing right around $3 million in sales,
Oh
which
my
is
goodness.
amazing. So
Oh, congratulations.
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And we have about 700 clients that we service for ongoing.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a big business. I mean, you're in the top couple of percent in the nation, I'm sure.
Oh,
Very
yes.
few. What's that?
I said, oh, yes.
Yeah, right. And so if you're listening, be sure and stay tuned in because John's going to share some great stuff. I just know he will. He always does every time I talk to him, really.
Thanks,
So
Jeannie.
I'm always taking notes when I talk to John. So that's why I really wanted to bring John on our show today. So John, when you were, getting started out, or it could even be something more recent, what is, we want to talk about like when you were stuck in the muck, when you were, in the depths of a grime scene was what we call it, when your business was not going well, but you found your way out. What's one of those like grime scenes that pops into your mind?
Yeah, and I have two, and I know we said one, but both of
Well,
those two
you can
relate
throw
to
in two
they relate
sometimes.
to each other. That's why I say two.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, mine was I'm trying to think of how am I gonna word it. We had a mutiny in our office, and so
Ooh.
I lost pretty much my entire admin team. Not my techs. My techs are great.
Mhm.
This was about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. I lost pretty much everybody in my office team, and it was a nightmare. I was living a freedom-based life. I didn't have a desk anymore. I wasn't going in every day. And we had some drama that happened. And I let somebody go to save somebody else. But the person I tried saving, they quit without notice. And it was kind of a nightmare. And so I was at this breaking point of like, what are we going to do? We tried hiring somebody locally. We brought them in and they went to lunch on Friday after a full week of training and never came back.
Oh,
Yes.
wow. Oh, that
And
is
I
painful.
I remember sitting there thinking like, we just can't do this anymore. Like we have to solve this problem. And the problem we were having is we weren't finding ideal candidates to work in the office. Like no matter who we interviewed, it just wasn't working out for us. And that's when I made the decision, you know what? We're going to take this company and we're going to go remote. 100%.
Wow.
And that was like the best decision I've ever made for my company.
Man, so that is huge. Like I have some remote people working with us and everything, but not to the extent that you have. And every time we talk, you always talk about, that your team is fully remote. That is, I think that's a really great lesson for many of us is that, people you don't have to have like this. If your business gets big, you don't necessarily have to have like this big office full of people to keep running a great business. And
You
you've
just,
definitely proven that.
you don't, you really don't. And that's kind of a mindset I bought into as well. And
Mhm.
other things too, like the culture. I was like, how are we going to handle the culture? And when I said there's two things that coincide, the other one is your systems and your processes. So
Mhm.
going remote brings a whole nother problem, which is how do you train remote people? How do you onboard them? How do they know what they're supposed to do if they can't just tap on someone's shoulder and be like, hey, I have a customer on the phone. Like, what do I do? Like, how do you
Mm-hmm.
handle that? So we've built out a really great system. Spilling the beans a little early here. It's actually coming out in August. Um,
Okay.
uh, yeah, I don't know if I was getting into that, but we're getting into that, I guess.
Okay. Well, we can hold off on
Yeah.
that. So, because I really want to go back more.
Yes.
I want to go farther upstream and kind of talk about how you ended up in that grime scene, because there are so many people out there who are at that point where they're having to start to hire administrative people. They don't even know where to begin. And then now they're hearing, oh my gosh, what if there was a mutiny? What if they all quit? Like, what am I going to do? Especially after you've created this freedom-based business and now you're getting sucked back into it because people are quitting. So kind of, what did you learn about how you ended up in that grime scene?
Couple things. One, I don't feel like I had all the systems and well, to avoid that situation, you need to have all your documents and your systems in place. Like, everything needs to
Mm-hmm.
be documented. How I ended up in that place is I kept the wrong employees for too long. I was enjoying my freedom-based business and I was like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. They can solve it. And since I didn't like get it head on and deal with it early on, I feel like that led to the mutiny.
So you had some festering going on there.
I
Yeah.
did. But
Yeah.
I loved the freedom and I didn't want to go back into the office every day. And I thought things were being handled until I learned that they weren't, and it kind of all imploded.
Yeah. And it isn't that so common though. I mean, I've done it many times that we keep people too long.
Yes,
It seems
100%.
like the easier thing to do.
It seems like the easier thing, but in the long run, it's not the easier thing. And now, if you're not the right fit for my company, sorry, I'm going to let you go. No hard
Mhm.
feelings, but you're just not a right fit.
Mhm. Right. And being able to recognize that early on. I don't think that Debbie's the first one to say it, but when you think that someone isn't right for your team, you're right.
Yep, pretty much.
The second you think it,
You're right.
you're right. You don't have to sit there and dwell on it. If it helps you mentally to write it all down and analyze the pros and cons, go ahead, but you're probably still going to be right.
Oh, 100%. I think the reason we hold on to people longer than we expect is, as humans, we're built for survival. And letting
Mm.
somebody go is going to jeopardize our safety. It's going to jeopardize
Yeah.
the lifestyle we have. And so you have to weigh the pros and cons of, if you keep this person, what's the damage that they're going to do to your company, versus if you let them go. Yeah, you're probably going to feel some pain for like a week or two while you hire somebody else, but it's worth going through that pain to replace that person with someone who's a better fit for your company.
Yeah. Right. And even though those people were quitting on you, you know, did you find that was a good thing that happened? Like, did it bring out, I mean, it obviously brought about huge change in the way that you run your organization. Um,
I actually look back at it as like one of the best things that's ever happened to my business. It really is, because that grime, that crazy scene, that propelled us even more forward with growth. Like, it shifted
yeah.
things in a really good way. So for me, when the chaos is happening, I'm not afraid of it. Even though it's hard and it feels hard, I'm not afraid of it, because I know that that chaos is actually good in a way. And what I mean by
Mhm.
that is, it's bringing about change, it's bringing growth. Like, you can't have one without the other.
Yeah. Right. Oh my gosh, that's so good. You can't, you can't have growth without some chaos. It's going to get messy
Oh, it
for a
is.
minute.
To have a
Yeah.
diamond, it has to be under extreme pressure.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, and you have built like an amazing business. Every time we talk, and I'm just inside, I don't want to interrupt you all the time while you're talking, but inside I'm like, oh my gosh, that just sounds amazing, what you've created. And I've learned so much from you and our team. You've helped us so much over the last couple of years, just sharing some of your communication tools and things that you're doing in your business. Um, and that's one of the reasons I really wanted to have you on. But, so it drove you to do something new, do something different, and create like even better, stronger, faster, bigger business, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And that I think is a really important lesson for all of us, is that you do have to go through some pain. And I think probably every business ends up becoming like great because it was solving some problem. You solved a problem.
100%.
Yeah. So how many people did you have when this happened in your administrative team?
I gotta do the math. I think I
Like,
had four or five.
mm-hmm.
4 or 5. I didn't even mention one of them actually quit and went and started her own cleaning business. She she took all my stuff that I had, my documents, and started her own. Yeah, that's a whole
That's
nother
another
story for another
story.
day.
That's like one of the biggest nightmares that people have. Um, if we can just like kind of dive into that one for just a minute, not to poke a wound, but
No, totally.
we hear this all the time in the cleaning business, like, oh, my, admin quit and she went and started her own business, or my best trainer quit and went and started her own business. Um, what did you learn from that? Like, what was that experience like? Because sometimes I think people are so afraid that's going to happen,
My
but
ex
obviously you're still standing strong. So
I
what
actually
what
had
did you
people that were like, "You should sue her, you should take her to court," and to be honest with you, people like that do that, they don't succeed. They
Yeah.
don't. I wish her luck. There's more than enough houses for all of us to clean.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck.
There you
And that's what
go.
we did. Like, literally, I wished her good luck. She is, I think at the time she was maybe a single mom. She had 1 kid. You know what? Good luck. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna sit here and hate her. I don't wanna go to the mental energy of trying to sue somebody or take them to the court.
Right.
Um, if it was a cleaner, different story, if they're still in
Mm-hmm.
clients, but it's just one person, and for me, I'd rather not put the energy on that. I'd rather focus on where we're headed as a company.
Yeah, that's so good. And it's something that we all need to learn. I've had a couple of people leave and start their own cleaning businesses. And I think people, if you aren't an entrepreneur, you have no idea.
100%.
Like,
That's why I
no
said good
idea.
luck.
Have fun with that.
Yes, 100%.
People do not, and I try to let people kind of know what's going on behind the scenes in our business, but people don't understand all that it takes to keep these things floating all the time, right? And
Oh, 100%. Just like, they really don't. They think, "Oh, it's
mhm.
easy. Anybody can do this."
Okay. All right. So, not that big of a deal if somebody leaves and starts their own business. It does happen sometimes. It's good to be prepared for it. Have them sign the non-solicitation documents that are fully legal. Non-competes aren't so much anymore, but
We had all
non
of that, and I actually
yeah.
went and looked up her LLC because I can do that in our state, and she started her LLC while she was still employed with us.
Gosh. Ah,
But
that's
again, I didn't wanna take the energy to go
yeah.
down that road, so
Yeah, that's great. I love that. One of the things we were just talking before we started recording today, that John kind of took a negative and turned it into a positive, and he's releasing a video on that. So that's another thing to go check out, is some of John's great videos out there in the world. But that's a real success habit right there, because I do think people expend so much of the energy that they could be using to lead their team and to grow their business on focusing backwards on something that happened that hurt,
yep.
or was negative. And, just using that to propel you forward is just such a great lesson for everyone, I think.
Oh,
And yeah, you set a great example there. All right. So your team left, you're sitting there, you're like, here, we got to figure out a problem. Let's go remote. Had you ever done anything like that before?
never, never. I had friends who had told me about it, but I
Mm-hmm.
was scared to do it because I didn't wanna let go of control. I didn't know how you'd manage everything, the culture, like, how do we keep the culture alive? And, I was done, and I was like, "You know what? We're doing this. We're gonna give it a shot." And actually, like I said, someone went to lunch, they never came back, and I was stuck doing the scheduling, which means I had to be in the
Oh.
office at 7:30 every day. And when you're used to waking up and having family time, that was rough. That was really rough.
Mhm.
But after she left and never came back, I called my mom and my sister, and I was like, listen, we're going remote. We can try it for a month. If it doesn't work, then we can start hiring more staff, but like, I can't do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did. And best decision ever.
That is so great. So did you hire the scheduling role first?
Yes. So I totally did. The first person we hired, she's still with us to this day.
That's great.
Um, she is actually from a VA firm. So she is, we pay the firm who takes care of
Mm-hmm.
her.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a recommendation from somebody, and it's a US based firm. And that's a whole
Mm-hmm.
other topic for a whole other day.
Yes, right. Where, do you go international? US
I,
based, right?
I think it depends on the role and stuff, but,
Mm-hmm.
or the person. But anyways, I called him, I reached out, and I was like, hey, here's the situation, what's going on. Like, I need somebody. And I've never hired somebody remote before. So I don't have like, I had trainings for people who worked in office, but none for like a remote position. And we do now. But
Mm-hmm.
I let them know what happened, and they found me somebody. And I think they started like a week later, was it? And
Nice.
I just was like a daddy bird kicking them out of the nest. And I said, fly.
I'm, yeah, I'm a big believer in that too. Like you learn things at a much deeper level when you're just thrown into it. It's like
Oh, yeah.
throwing a kid in the pool,
Yep.
right? They
I
learn on
was
the job.
lucky because my operations manager who left with her family at the time, she came back as well. So she was able to help with this VA a little bit, this remote worker a little bit. And so it worked out. And she still does the schedule and the customer service to this day. And so grateful for her.
Wow, that's amazing. And when was this?
Oh gosh, was it like 2-3 years ago
Okay,
this
yeah.
happened?
Yeah, and since then, you've built an entirely remote team. So what does your team look like now?
Yeah. Do you want roles? Like,
Yeah, roles, yeah, and,
okay.
how you fill them. Mhm.
Yeah, totally. So my operations manager, she actually lives here. She is local. She works from home. She's a mom. She has a kid, and she's married. And she works remotely. She does go into the office once, I think, every 2 weeks, and that is just because we still get some mail and stuff there,
Mhm.
which we're in the process of trying to get rid of, but it's no big deal.
Mhm.
So she works from home, and then I have two salespeople that are remote. One was an employee that actually worked with us a while ago, and then they came back, but now they're remote and they don't live here. They live in a different state. Another salesperson, they came from a VA firm. I'm trying to think who else. Um, we have somebody who does like our payroll admin. So she helps with our cleaners if they have questions, if they're locked out. She does the payroll, she does billing. She actually lives in Costa Rica, and we
Wow.
love her. She does an amazing job. And then we have Kristen, who does our customer service and scheduling. Did I get everybody? um,
Yeah,
and
but still, that's amazing, and you found people for every role, and we won't have time to go into it today, but John has shared, kinda how he looks for different types of people or where they're located based on the role, right? That makes a big difference, but I'm pretty sure many people in our audience don't think that you can have like this fully remote team, but the longer that I've been in the cleaning industry, the more people I'm meeting that are able to do this,
yep,
build a, fully remote leadership team. And the interesting thing is, and we'll take a break here in just a minute, but do you think that in this day and age, people are just more welcoming to that idea as being workers? And then also the people that your cleaning technicians are obviously remote, but they're being led by a remote team. So, that brings about a different kind of management style.
it does. And I was a little worried about that, especially because the person that they're dealing with every day on a daily basis is not even in this country. But we have had absolutely no problems with it. I think if anything, it's enhanced our level of service because now there's someone who's dedicated to them every day, all day long, essentially, to
Oh,
help them
that's
with
great.
anything.
That is so cool. Well, I love this story, this grime story that you shared. And I want to dive a little deeper into it about the results that you've seen from it. But before we do that, let's take a quick break and hear a little bit more about cleaning business fundamentals, where Jhon and I met.
Woo.
And then we'll be right back.
Is your cleaning business a grime story? There's no need to stay stuck in the muck because you're not alone. With over 500 active members and more than 500 graduates of our Cleaning Business Fundamentals program, CBF is the #1 cleaning business academy in the world and has created more mop-free millionaires than any program in the industry. Learn more and let CBF take your residential cleaning business from a grime story to a gleaming success.
Welcome back, everyone, to True Grime Stories. And we're here today with Jhon LeBaron, the co-owner of Primavera Cleaning Services in Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. So, Jhon, you were sharing about how, having a mutiny in your business led to a complete shift in the way that you built your leadership team, your admin team, and you went remote, right? So this is a huge step. Now that you've done this, you've become almost what I consider to be an industry expert now in running remote teams. How has that changed how your business runs and, the lives of the people on your team and your life?
Yeah, it's been wonderful. And one of my favorite features about running remote is my team also get to have a life, not just sitting in an office, for 8-9 hours a day. And to me, that's really important for quality of life. For my life personally, I feel like I've been able to find better candidates to work in my company, which has been really, really huge. People with a lot of skill that do a really good job. It's really forced us.
It does open up your ability of who you can hire because you're not just focused on the local pool, right?
Yep, 100%. It's also really given me, I don't want to say stability, but freedom, I think is the word I'm looking for. It's given me more freedom to be with my kids. As you mentioned, I have 6 kids. I'm married. I love spending time with my wife and my kids and working on other projects. And so building this remote company has really offered that to me.
Yeah, Jhon has a beautiful family. And if you spend any time with Jhon, you're going to hear stories about his amazing wife and kids. And, that, and for many of us, our family is our why, but we still don't tend to put them first.
Yep.
We still, for some reason, the most important child in your business or in your life tends to be your business often for business owners. I'm guilty of that for sure. Many times.
Yeah, we've all done that. We've all put our business first. And that to me has always been one of my goals in my company is to build a family first business, not a business first business. And what I mean by that is like my family takes priority, my business is secondary.
Yeah. And as it should be, but it's just so easy because the business seems to be more urgent and we put the urgent in front of the important.
But is it urgent or is it important? And I think there's a big distinction between that in your company. A lot of people think all these little tiny fires that they need to be the one doing those. And as a remote business owner, I've learned I don't. I have a team to put out those fires. I focus on the big stuff.
Right. Yeah. And you don't even need to know about the fires, right?
I don't. I actually don't want to. So we have a team chat. We have 2 of them. One I'm in, and it rarely gets used unless I'm saying something. The other one is for all the office stuff that I don't want to hear about.
Yeah. Yeah. We have something similar. We kind of copied some of your communication systems in our business. And it's great to not have to see everything that's happening every day, because if I focus on that, then I can't use my mental energy for the big ideas, expansion plans, and, forecasting and all the other stuff that the leader needs to be doing.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, mastering this, having a remote team, what do you think if you had to say like 3 things about if somebody's out there listening and they really want to explore hiring maybe their first remote employee, like what are like John's few tips on like how to get started on that? I know
Um,
you could write a book about it and you probably are, but just to get started.
yeah, no, you're good. 3 things. I feel like if you want to hire your first remote employee, you need to have clearly defined roles in your company, which is who's doing what. You need to have clear documented processes
Mhm.
of how to do the things that need to be done in your company. And the third one is don't be afraid to try it. You can try it for a month, and if it doesn't work, you can always go back. But what's going to
Yeah.
happen is after a month, you're going to be like, oh, I love this. The people who fail with it are the ones who don't have the systems and the processes like documented and ready to go.
Yeah. And I think both of us have heard in, the buzz in our communities, the people who have tried to hire a VA and it's failed for them. And a lot of it is just role clarity. It's not clear. Or it's the wrong hire, where they
Yep.
didn't put enough time into making sure it was the right person. Um, yeah.
100%.
Well, I'm super inspired. I actually, right after this, I'm meeting with someone who may be a potential remote team member. So
That's awesome.
this is perfect timing. um, got got me all excited about it and ready to go. Cool. Well, so doing all of that, you are a prolific entrepreneur. You're not only do you have lots of kids, but you have lots of businesses too. And so, you know, what does the future look like now that you've kind of freed yourself up? And I'm guessing in your other businesses you have remote team members as well.
We do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, so following up on the way that you have built your remote team and it's obviously like given you so much time and more energy to build, a great future, lots more businesses and things like that. But ultimately, what is it, what's your big goal?
What is my big goal? My ultimate big goal is just to be able to set their kids up for success.
So kind of that generational
Generational wealth.
success. Yeah.
Yes.
And wealth. Yeah.
I'm
And that
really
makes such a big deal.
It does, and I'm really big on families working together in business. That's a whole
Mhm.
nother topic for another day.
Yeah, every time I talk to John, he's like, "Yeah, my cousin is doing this, and my brother's doing that, and my sister does this." I love that. I don't have enough family members to do that, but John does. He has a great big family,
I
so
do.
that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's I love it, and family members that can work together, that's a whole other story, but it's a great one. I would love to have you come back and talk about that sometimes because people are afraid of it, but it doesn't have to be scary.
It doesn't, and
Um
I'm totally happy to come back and share more. So,
Yeah, that would be great. Well, John, congratulations on the great business that you've created, and I'm grateful for you because you're kind of a beacon out there, a bright light that's kind of guiding us in the direction of what our business could be and how we could grow and build the kind of freedom that we dream of. I think all of us as entrepreneurs, when we start, we think, "Oh, I'm going to start this business. I'm just going to sit back and count the money and." Like, and go on vacation. And it usually doesn't work out that way for most people. And, but it has for you. And so you're a great example. So thank you.
thank you, Jeannie, for having me. I appreciate it, and same to you. You have been an inspiration, and I'm so glad to have met you back in 2017.
Yeah, that was a blessed day.
It was.
I got to meet you guys. I didn't really stay in touch with, I thought I'd stay in touch with a bunch of people I met there. So I'm so glad that we're still friends after all these years. It's been great. And, I love watching you guys grow. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. And to our audience today, I just want to thank you for listening to another episode of True Grime Stories. I bet you love John's story and I hope it inspires you. And if you'd like to hear more of True Grime, make sure and subscribe, download, and share this episode, because that helps us grow. Without you, we don't exist. And if you would like to know more about cleaning business fundamentals, you can schedule a free call with me. Just click on the link in the show notes. I would love to talk with you. I've talked to many people who've listened to our episode, and I'd love to talk to you. So thank you, everyone, and we'll see you again on the next episode of True Grime Stories.
That's a wrap on today's True Grime Stories. Thanks for joining us in uncovering the secrets of cleaning business success. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and download, and check out our show notes for links and info from today's episode, and to learn more about our sponsor, Cleaning Business Fundamentals. Join us next time as we solve another True Grime story.